Whitfield to the stage. And that is part of the fun of doing this kind of stuff live on the fly is you never know what is going to happen and when it happens. So, but it's all good. Jim is from Pay, and Jim is the director of the technical services. Is that right there, Jim?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule today to join us and share your tile story. Why don't you tell us who you are, where you live, a little personal account of yourself?
So, gosh, I've been in tile business since early 70s, mid 70s, really. In the early 70s, I was in high school in the Colorado area. My family's back in Chicago. And I was actually working at the Air Force Academy on a summer job, like a youth employment job. And one of the tasks I got, in addition to rescreening screens and working in hot tar roofing, was tiling some of the wall tile in the Air Force Academy hospital. So it's kind of interesting because I did enjoy it. Of course, I was inside, didn't have to deal with the heat and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And went back to Chicago area and working for a kitchen and bath remodeler. Worked for him for I don't know, like a year and a half, probably a year and a half at least. And he laid me off. He didn't have any other future projects, and it didn't really work out for him so much. And and I got me thinking, what would I really, out of all the tasks I learned from building rooms to insulating and so on, what did I really enjoy doing? Framing. And I really thought back and I thought, I always enjoyed doing the tile work. And the reason was because when I was done, it was so attractive. It was so pretty.
Yeah.
And so I thought I really would like to pursue that. Not to mention, I was in Chicago. So when I got done with high school in Colorado, I moved back to Chicago. And in Chicago, you really don't want to be outside framing. So I realized that very, very quickly. And so pursued a career in tile and started working for what at that time was called Coloramic store, similar to a color tile basically, but they had their own installers. And I worked for them for quite a while, and eventually into my own flooring company and contracting work and so on, and stayed Chicago till early 80s. I think 82, 83, moved back out to Colorado. I'd gotten married and moved back out to Colorado, where I continued installing tile for, oh gosh, another 4 or 5 years. I got out of that because my knee just really started bothering me. I was in an accident, and my left knee got hit in the door, and it was just aggravating. So I realized I had to do something else eventually, and saw an opportunity for a setting material manufacturer. At the time, it was Secure, so it was an affiliate manufacturer, and went and talked to them, and of course got the job. And I worked for them for, you wouldn't believe it, but that small. We also manufactured stucco and wall facades.
Okay.
And so I worked for them for, oh gosh, I think 2003. It sold to a larger international company called Parex. At that time, a few years later, we acquired Mercury. And I had actually launched a brand new brand of setting materials and grouts from scratch out in the Southwest called Davco. And that came out of Australia. Not the formulations, but the name and all that with the Parks name. They didn't want to continue to do the affiliate thing, of course, because they had the ability to do it on their own. So really a lot of different things. And I ended up working for them for quite a while. Eventually, when we acquired Mercury, they already had a sales manager, and I'd been in sales pretty much the whole time. And so they said, would you like to do technical? And I said, of course I would. It's the way I sold, because I installed and I loved that part of it. And so I took over as technical manager and worked for them till, gosh, I have to think now, 8 years ago probably. And I quit them and went to work for Florida Tile. And I was a product manager for the thinner gauge porcelain tile product line. So I was able to go to Italy and work with installers there and really get to understand where that product was coming from. Florida Tile is owned by Panaria, which is also Coda de Este and Leia and a bunch of other brands. So I really got deep into it, I'll say, and worked with them. Everything from packaging to data sheets to you name it. The whole thing, got that product line ready. And then a good friend of mine that some of you may know, Leigh Hightower, who was at the time manager of tech services at MAPE, wanted to retire. He's kind of needed to get out of it. And so him and Dan Marvin kept, harassing me to consider doing an interview.
Hmm.
And so things just gave me the opportunity to go down there and talk to him. And I realized it was a far better fit for me than working for a tile manufacturer. I like this aspect of it. I like the installation side of it. I like, the standards. I like all the things that we do. Tile is great. Don't misunderstand me.
Sure.
But there's so much more here with underlayments and grouts and so on. So I was very, very fortunate to um, come down to Florida and do an interview and be hired. And so I moved my family from Colorado down to South Florida. I say that my three children were in Colorado, and they stayed. So my wife and me just came down here, and I came down and worked for almost a year, about 9 months before she came down, and then we got the house on the market and so on. Um, and so it really is a real blessing. I'll say that. A lot of people say, "How could you possibly move from Colorado to Florida?" It's different, but it's got its unique characteristics as well. I mean, there's so much to do here as there's so much to do there.
Sure.
You're not going to be out hiking in the middle of the summer, but man, I sure am in the winter. And
Yeah.
the exact opposite of there, but it's still enjoyable. And I'll tell you the other part of it is people love visiting Florida. So you've got my kids and
Yeah.
now I have a son-in-law and a grandchild as well back there. They love coming down there. They were just here a month ago.
Yeah.
So very blessed. I mean, I have an incredibly good crew in tech services. Matter of fact, tonight at 6:30, we're doing a virtual cocktail party. We haven't
Nice.
seen each other for 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
See who wants to get on and just have a drink and say hi to each other, because we've been isolated obviously and working remotely. I can't say enough about our IT team for getting our product support and people that answer the 800 number up and out of the office, which is not an easy task.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we've been, me and two other gentlemen, managers in the department, we rotate. So every 3 days I'm in the office and just make sure everything's going okay and trade out documents and come back home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of how we do it these days.
Well, Jim, what an incredible story. What that's quite the resume. Thank you for sharing. And that's why I do this. I love asking questions to, get to know the people that I'm starting to know more and more. And it's funny what you mentioned about moving around from state to state. I myself grew up in Minnesota, lived in Arizona and all kinds of different places. And I got those same similar questions. Well, how can you stand the heat or how can you stand the cold? One nice thing about the
Right.
cold weather is you can always visit it for a long weekend and then go back to Florida.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, of course, I don't mind going in there, but my wife at Christmas time, her mother was going to go visit her other sister and so on. And long story is, I could hardly get her to go. I mean, she was so terrified of having to get stuck or something. And it took me a week to talk her into going.
Yeah,
But obviously, because we got to travel and stuff, you don't think much of it. You just deal with whatever you run into. But and wherever you're going, it's just the
for
nature of
sure.
our business these days. So
Yeah, yeah, you travel quite a bit too.
yeah.
What gets you excited about the industry today?
I think there's a lot of exciting things going on today. I think, obviously, Gage porcelain tile is still of interest to me, very much so, and for a variety of reasons. One, I don't believe that it's going anywhere. I think there are some people that feel like it was a trend and it's going to come and go, and I
Oh,
strongly believe it's going to be here. I can assure you, after going to the plant and knowing how they produce it, and they're doing it with less raw materials, less fuel. They're able to stock blank sheets and cut any tile you want out of it and ship more. It's not going anywhere, trust me.
yeah,
And so I think we will see more development. I think we'll see more sizes. We'll see planks in 5-6 millimeter. I think we'll see 20 by 20s, half meter by half meter, and some other things. I think we'll start to see that more. But I think there's a lot of exciting things going on there. Of course, with Noah and actually Dan Marvin, when he was with us, and a variety of other people in the industry, been involved with creating the installation standard, the interior one, and we're now working on an exterior one, which is basically completed, and
mm,
hopefully we'll get to the committee and shortly. Takes a while, but we'll eventually get that passed as well.
Hmm.
working on methods for the TCNA handbook. I think there's a lot of great things going on in our industry, and I
Yeah.
see a lot of other developments. I see, adhesives coming into it that are superior to anything we've ever had in our past, and
Yeah.
tools that are lighter and stronger, and so it's a pretty exciting time.
Yeah, I think it's a great time. I let's see, I came in, I guess, around the 2000 mark, and it was like all 12 by 12 eased edge,
Right.
ceramic, and it was like got pretty boring. But I
Right.
don't think there's a tile contractor out there today who's bored. What
No.
what challenges do we see with some of these developments?
um well, of course, right now training, it's a concern. We're going to launch a webinar series next week, and
Great.
and hopefully that'll be. I think all these things can become mainstays. I think something that we before hardly thought about will become an important part of our future and another tool in our belt. So I think those are important. Um, Unfortunately, getting the right people in the training, and I say that we're getting good people in there. Don't misunderstand me, but unfortunately, we don't get called out to good jobs. It's not very seldom, not very often somebody brings us out to a job and says, take a look at, this
Right.
beautiful work. We get to go out there and look at the ones that unfortunately have had issues.
Sure.
And usually it's from lack of education, I'll say. And I don't think it's intentionally done wrong. It's just not, it's a misunderstanding. They don't maybe understand. Some people feel the TCNA and ANSI are overbuilt,
Mm.
and I don't think so. I think they're minimum standards, and I think that's important to believe and understand. And so I think there's a lot of things that can be improved, and we're fortunate to be in an industry that constantly works on it. We work very, very hard in improving standards and installation methods and tools for it. And so I think that's the positive. But there's a lot of challenges, and this unfortunate pandemic is going to affect us, in a lot of ways. And my guys, are not training right now, but they know when it opens up, they're going to be hitting the road hard.
Yeah.
There's going to be a ton of requests. We're going to have to make up things. So we really, really anticipate that and plan for it. And, you know, I can tell you the other part of that too, kind of an interesting part of being out and being remote is product support still getting a ton of 800 number calls. So people are out there still working, and they're glad to hear a voice on the other end, and appreciative that they're not getting a busy
Yeah.
signal and somebody calling them back. So
Yeah.
we appreciate all that kind of stuff, and we should, and hopefully that's our future. Like I said too, it becomes a mainstay.
Yeah, I think it's a necessity. We need to step on the gas, even as hard as we can with training. And certainly, from a installer point of view, I'm thankful to have companies such as yours who do a lot of training. So thank you for recognizing that that's an industry need, you're right on the mark, I think. Monica's back in here for a minute. Got a great question here from the audience. What is the best place to start learning industry standards for new entrants into the tile business? Say someone wants to start educating themselves. Where would you point them, Jim?
My webinar next week.
Perfect.
And I mean, honestly, my first one, we did a seminar series, a day and a half, where our intention was to bring in people from tile shops that were um, supervisors and superintendents and estimators, the a different level than we typically have in there. So we put together a good solid day and a half program that was on industry standards, sustainability, and submittals, and involved estimating and a variety of other things. So we're gonna my I wanted to break that out and do one every week, and marketing's changed that a little bit and involved other departments. But certainly, I'll start off this next week with understanding the standards and TCNA handbook, how to use it, how to make it efficient, what is contractor friendly language, and there is contractor friendly language in there. You just have to know where it's at. So to delve into the TCNA and just what is a method, what's it composed of, what is an F main versus a W, method, et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah.
I apologize. So I want to say it's the 21st, I think at 1 o'clock. You might check the MAPE website. I know that they're putting the registration information up there today.
Sure.
So,
Sure. And
but
if
but I
anyone,
think other manufacturers have that as well. Keep an eye out for those. They're
oh,
very helpful.
yeah, and hit Jim up on Facebook, LinkedIn, pretty much. Where else can people find you, Jim?
oh gosh, I mean, I'm willing to share my contact information. But you're right. I don't know how many tile things I'm involved with on Facebook. Probably
Pretty much all
10.
the social media stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
What
But
is your last name? A question from the audience. I guess I did a poor job there.
oh, sorry, Jim Whitfield. It's Whitfield.
Yep, yep. All right, one last question, Jim. If you could wave a magic wand over the tile industry to fix one immediate issue, what would that be?
Well, that's a great question. It would have to be this pandemic. I mean, I hate to say it, but
Well,
this is
that's a good
this is
answer.
you know, right now obviously it's affecting a lot of people, and it needs to be done.
Yeah, yeah,
We need to, we need to stay home. We need to do everything we can to get rid of this thing and get people back to work and healthy. So I couldn't ask for anything more than that.
yeah. Well, amen to that, Jim. And thank you so much for your time and sharing your story. The audience has enjoyed it, and we're going to get back to networking. And then in about 15 minutes, we're going to bring Dan Marvin to the stage.
Excellent.
All right, Jim. Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome.